Not only does Seven of Nine remain one of fans' most beloved Star Trek heroes of the past, her story has continued beyond Voyager to the franchise's 21st Century series. How did a character named after a couple of numbers become so beloved? The special feature Braving the Unknown on Star Trek Voyager's Season 4 home release reveals where the idea for Seven of Nine came from. Brannon Braga, a producer and writer on Voyager, says the notion of a Borg character joining the crew came to him while watching an ad for the Season 3 episode Unity. In the episode, Commander Chakotay finds a planet of Borg who have been disconnected from the collective. Unfortunately, conflict rages on the planet as rivals between different species re-emerge once ties to the Borg have been severed. An ex-Borg human named Riley wants Voyager's help to create a new collective on the planet in order to restore harmony. In the meantime, Riley and other ex-Borgs temporarily connect Chakotay to their collective in order to heal life-threatening wounds, and eventually to use that connection to force Voyager's first officer to help them. Chakotay's experience in Unity becomes crucial in Voyager's early dealings with Seven of Nine. Braga said after watching the promo for Unity, he called Voyager writer Joe Menosky and show co-creator Rick Berman to make sure having an ex-Borg character join the show's regular cast wasn't a stupid idea. The consensus was that it was just the opposite. When Seven of Nine first comes aboard Voyager, she isn't there as a friend. She first appears in Scorpion Part 2, the show's Season 4 premiere. Upon entering an area of space dominated by the Borg, the crew of Voyager discovers that the Borg have bitten off more than they can chew. A race of vicious extra-dimensional aliens known only as Species 8472 is waging war on the Borg and winning. Captain Janeway sizes up the situation and decides to use it to her advantage. After the ship's doctor devises a technology that can defeat Species 8472, Janeway offers it to the Borg in exchange for safe passage through their space. The Borg then assigns Seven of Nine, a human assimilated when she was a child, to act as a liaison to Voyager's crew. Once Species 8472 is defeated, Seven of Nine predictably turns on the crew of Voyager. She tells them their agreement is over and the Borg will assimilate the ship and her crew. Expecting the betrayal, Janeway signals for her secret plan to be put in motion. Elsewhere on the ship, the Doctor puts a neurotransceiver on Chakotay's neck, which the first officer is able to use to connect with Seven and distract her while Lieutenant Torres cuts Seven's connection to the collective. Making reoccurring appearances on Star Trek Picard, Seven of Nine is one of the only Voyager regular characters to show up in the franchise after the show's finale. It's ironic considering that Brannon Braga planned for her to be one of the only regular characters to not even survive Voyager. Speaking to Trek Core in 2013, Braga fielded a question about some fans feeling Voyager had defanged the Borg as villains. After talking about the Borg for a bit, he revealed his own ideas for Seven's fate. "I think Seven of Nine should have bit the dust. I think there had to be a real sacrifice for this crew getting home, a real blood sacrifice. Seven of Nine was, for me, designed to be a character that was going to die tragically. I planned that." He went on to describe how he planned for that death to take place, mentioning Human Error, one of the final season's later episodes. Seven uses the holodeck to explore her human side, including a potential romance with Chakotay. As emotions begin to emerge, the Doctor discovers there's a Borg failsafe device within her. If she becomes too human, the implant will kill her. Braga said, "It was that moment in my mind that would set up the finale, where she realized she can't live here, can't live there." For better or worse, Braga's concept got the thumbs down, and Seven continued her quest to become more human. While they start off as uneasy allies, the relationship between Captain Janeway and Seven of Nine eventually grows into something not unlike that between a mother and daughter. Behind the scenes, however, it seems clear that Kate Mulgrew and Jeri Ryan were not the best of friends. When asked about her relationship with Ryan at the 2014 Star Trek VegasCon, Mulgrew was diplomatic, saying, quote, "We did not have a deep friendship." Mulgrew implied that she had initially resented Ryan's casting, saying, "It was very clear to anyone with eyes in their head that Jeri Ryan's beauty and sexual appeal were an important part of the numbers. I had thought, damn, we were going to forego all this with a female captain, but the demographics proved the audience wanted more sex, and they got it in that beautiful, talented woman." On a 2013 episode of the Girl on Guy podcast, Ryan opened up about how ugly things got. She didn't specifically name Mulgrew as the actor in question, but her hints made it seem impossible for them to be anyone else. She gave examples of the actor refusing to let makeup and wardrobe crew work with Ryan before close-ups, and in some cases saying their lines to Ryan off camera while examining their fingernails or thumbing through a book without even making eye contact. When asked what her favorite episodes of Voyager were, Jeri Ryan has shared her fond memories of episodes that saw Seven exploring her humanity. In particular, she often cites Season 5's Someone to Watch Over Me. In the episode, Seven and Torres almost come to blows when the latter discovers that Seven has been observing and making notes on her and Tom Paris as part of a study on other species' mating rituals. When the doctor suggests Seven should try dating on her own, the holographic physician becomes the reformed Borg's dating mentor. Among other things, he subjects Seven to a presentation reminiscent of a high school teacher's sex education lecture, brings her to the holodeck to try her hand at wooing holographic characters, teaches her to dance, and breaks into a sweet duet of You Are My Sunshine. Over the course of the episode, the doctor realizes he's developing his own feelings for Seven. He's just about ready to open up about them when she tells him she will no longer need to be mentored because, after reviewing all the men on board, none are suitable as potential mates. The doctor thanks Seven and keeps his longing to himself. Chakotay actor Robert Beltran was known for being honest about his opinions when he wasn't happy about something, even while Voyager was still on the air. And one of the things he wasn't happy about was how he felt Chakotay and other characters were shortchanged once 7 of 9 came aboard. Speaking to StarTrek.com in 2012, Beltran said, "When the 7 of 9 character made her entrance, the focus changed. That was fine with me, but I think writers have an obligation to fill out all the characters if they're regular characters on a series. I think several of the characters were diminished, Chakotay and Tuvok and Kim and Neelix." He went on to say he felt Seven was easier to write because she wasn't fully human. Ryan told the Girl on Guy podcast she thought so much focus was put on Seven because, simply put, she was new. She also said she was aware of some of the other cast's resentment and understood them, though the understanding apparently didn't make things easier. Looking back on the experience, she said, "When the new kid comes in and suddenly it's all about them, that was tough. It really made it an unpleasant work experience." 7 of 9 isn't the only ex-Borg to join Voyager on its quest back to Earth. In Season 6's Collective, the crew encounters a Borg cube whose only survivors are children. At the end of the episode, 4 of the children come aboard Voyager, where the Doctor uses the same techniques he used on 7 to remove most of the children's Borg implants. The oldest of the 4 is Icheb, a member of a race called Brunali who becomes a recurring character on Voyager. We eventually learn that Icheb's assimilation into the Borg was somewhat unique. In the episode Child's Play, Icheb discovers he was genetically engineered by his parents with a deadly virus meant to eradicate the Borg. His parents willingly put him on a ship and steered him toward the Borg in hopes they would assimilate him and subsequently be destroyed.
Icheb's not bait. He's a weapon.
Unfortunately, Icheb is brutally taken away from Seven in the Season 1 episode of Star Trek Picard, Stardust City Rag. In a flashback, we learn Icheb has been captured and that his body is being harvested for its cybernetic parts. Seven interrupts the procedure, but Icheb is already dying and in excruciating pain. He begs Seven to kill him, and she ultimately does. One of the most well-loved stories of any Star Trek show is the original series episode Mirror Mirror, in which a dark parallel universe is revealed. The tyrannical Terran Empire replaces the Federation, and evil counterparts of the Enterprise's crew replace the ones with which we're more familiar. Subsequent series like Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, and Discovery returned to the Mirror universe, though Voyager never got a chance. That's something comic book publisher IDW's 2019 one-shot story Star Trek Voyager Mirrors and Smoke aims to correct. In the Mirror universe, Janeway is the pirate queen of the Delta Quadrant and is perfectly content to stay far from Earth, where she and her crew can plunder without anyone to interfere. In this universe, 7 of 9, previously known as Annika Hansen, was never assimilated by the Borg, but her parents were. When Voyager rescues her from Neelix and Kes, Annika discovers the Terrans know nothing about the Borg. Ironically, while Annika isn't a Borg in this universe, she still betrays Voyager. Shortly after she's rescued, she plots with the Doctor to take over the ship and kill anyone who doesn't cooperate. Their plans are foiled, and interestingly, Annika's motivations for turning against them are never revealed. Though toward the end of the comic, she refers to her captors as the Humans, suggesting she may be more than she appears. One of the most anticipated appearances of Star Trek Picard's first season was the return of 7 of 9. She saves Picard and his crew at the end of Absolute Candor and takes center stage in the following episode, Stardust City Rag. We learn that for years, 7 has been part of a group of vigilantes called the Fenris Rangers, trying to bring justice to the galaxy in the wake of the Romulan supernova. As much of a success as 7's return has proven to be, Jeri Ryan never thought it would happen. On the Picard after-show program Ready Room, Ryan told host Will Wheaton that when the idea was first pitched to her 2 years before production, she thought it was a joke.
Because this has been a 2-year process since it was first broached. to me. And I didn't think it was ever going to really actually come to fruition.
Apparently, it wasn't until the 2018 Creative Arts Emmys when Ryan was shocked to discover her return to the role was actually a possibility. While she waited backstage, Picard co-creator Alex Kurtzman told her there was a lot of discussion about her in the series' writer's room.
And I was like, what? Really? Okay, I guess it's actually happening.
At first, it may seem strange for Seven of Nine to show up in Star Trek Picard. After all, the character wasn't around for Star Trek The Next Generation, and we've never seen the two characters meet before Picard. However, if you stop to think about it, Seven may have more in common with Picard than anyone he served with aboard the Enterprise. In the two-part TNG episode Best of Both Worlds, Picard is assimilated by the Borg and turned into Locutus. The collective uses his memories and knowledge to kill Picard's Starfleet comrades. He's eventually saved by his crew, but the experience leaves deep scars. While Seven was assimilated when she was a young girl and spent a much longer time with the collective than Picard, they shared this terrible bond with one another. This never comes through more clearly than in an exchange toward the end of Stardust City Rag. Seven asked Picard if he thinks he regained his humanity once he was cut off from the Borg. He says he did, but Seven is skeptical and gets Picard to admit that there's still a little bit of humanity he hasn't been able to get back from the Borg.
But we're both working on it, aren't we?
Every damn day of my life.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies and TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.